Testing, testing. Right. So, as our general audit, we are recording here as soon as I logged on. So I just sent off the room numbers. I hope my mic is working. I was doing some tests with my mic and my speakers. Let me check the speakers. See if that's working while other parties log on, right? So my speakers, I had to enable those. Right, so hopefully my speakers are working now. Do is probably check my audio options. Test mic and speakers. Test speaker. Right, looks fine. Testing the mic. Testing the mic. Adjust the mic. Testing the mic. All right, someone has now arrived at the room. Let me see who it is. It is Natalie. Good evening, Natalie. So type in a chat box if you can hear me, please. No typing from Natalie yet. Oh, yes. Can you hear me, Natalie? Is my mic working? Okay. So now typing that message too. Yes, and as Kinese requested, we are taping from the get-go. So Anita is logging in there. She should be on momentarily. Hi, Anita, just punch a little message in the chat box if you can hear me, please. Right, and we should have our number 67 on the screen. All right, yes. Well, only 3 of us here tonight. And again, we are tipping for the benefit of our classmate who is not with us tonight. Right, so let's get on with it. Question 67, Ilandwi. And again, I still am promising these worksheets. They will be there one way or the other. I will get you worksheets throughout everything that I'm trying to do at the same time. And in addition to that, what we're currently doing is a review of the syllabus, going back through, starting from NBV. So the last question we did. Now, in addition to doing that, what I'm also doing is I'm doing the last 4 recent papers from December 14 or June 14 or so. We did most of the June 14 already. So December 14 I did last time. June 15 we're doing this time. And then we have the paper from the 2016, or after June 15 we also have December 15. But what I want to do is probably leave December 15 for a little mock exam type thing. So I could choose either between that or looking at one of the BPP mock exams. So depending how we go, I'm thinking I'm switching from that so that I might use the BPP mock exams for you. Let's see how that goes. All right. So, yeah. So while reviewing the NPV area, which we're doing currently, I'm using these papers to do that. So therefore, after maybe by the next session, what I'll do, I'll list out for you the NPV syllabus area, and we'll tick off what these questions have covered. And that's again what I can use to create some of the worksheets on these specific computational areas. And this is therefore what we can use to revise again to make sure we try and cover. And if by the time we finish these 4 papers, there are areas on the syllabus which have not been covered, then we need to go looking specifically for some sort of examples. And again, that's where the worksheet would also come in handy. All right, so what I could do is probably take the text examples and redo them so that it looks something like new questions. All right, so that's the plan as we go forward. The month of November is counting down on us, so we need to make sure we get stuff done. In addition to all of that, we want to be working with exam technique. So this is something we want to try and practice a little bit tonight. So what I can do here is start a little stopwatch. Should have one on this machine somewhere around time clock. So on this phone thingy has a stopwatch. So let us see how long we take with the reading element of the question. Now, what I would also want to do is try and work as if I am in exam mode, and then I will pause at certain areas and then take more questions. So unlike what I normally do is ask people all sorts of questions as we go along. Now, of course, feel free to ask your questions, and more so especially in the pause sections. What I want to try and do is work as if I'm in the exam. If you all have any questions, let me know at any point, and let's see if I could get the exam done. All right, so, and this is what you all will have to be able to do in that 3 hours come December. So it's less than a month away. So we have to mash gas now. So let's begin. So in the reading section, so I'm not doing all 98 minutes. So let's see what time we allocate to different aspects. So with the reading, let's go. Elenvi, whose currency is this rand, has faced extremely difficult economic challenges in the past 25 years, questionable economic policies, decisions made by previous governments and so on. It reminds me very much of Trinidad when I read these types of things. Although the population is generally poor, people are nevertheless well educated. Still reminded me more of Trinidad. Just over 3 years ago, new government took office. Well, it's not 3 years, it's 1 year for us. Imposed a number of strict monetary and fiscal controls. What am I reading? The newspaper from Trinidad, including an annual corporation tax of 40%. Thank God they didn't do that yet in Trinidad. But anyway, I digress. In an attempt to bring the country out of its difficulties, rate of inflation dropped. And again, even though this is the third time I'm reading this question, I'm still wondering, would these things really help or really happen? If they raise these taxes or so, would inflation really fall? We could only wait and see. Keep our fingers crossed. Down to the 3% currently. Strict monetary fiscal controls. Made the government popular in larger cities, less popular in rural areas. Again, that's what happens with politics. Moving forward now. Expected year inflations will be as follows. 20%, 14, etc. Government has decided to continue progress made so far, encouraging foreign direct investment. Recently, they held trade shows. Our government actually did that also. We had a road show to borrow more money. And how are we going to pay that back? Anyway, more digression, wasting time. But these are things that happen in the exam. You think of all these things while you're reading. So let me go again. Encouraging these companies, zero corporation tax in the first 2 years. Oh, my pen's not working now. That's so sad. I should pause my watch. And what I'll need to do, so I'll pause the stopwatch in this reading area. I want to use my pen, and my pen's not working. So what I need to do is close Excel and reopen it, and then my pen will work. So the screen sharing has stopped, and then when I reopen it, I will reshare, and then we'll go back to where we were. My apologies for this little interruption. So I stopped the watch. Oops, wrong Excel thing I opened. I stopped the watch and I'll restart it when I get my pen back working. Pen working, yes, pen's working now. So share screen, share screen, online, share screen. Right, so just give me a little message in the chat. Can you see the question back now? Both ladies, is the question back up? Great. Continuing. So what I was going to identify as I read along is this zero corporation tax rate for the first 2 years, and this ability to carry forward tax losses. We met that somewhere in a question. So let's keep going. Once we read that, we'll have to think about the types of workings we're going to be doing resume the time. Types of workings we're going to be doing, and working out profit to see how much losses you have and then carry forward, that type of thing. Good locations, promises, more government promises, towns and cities, good transport, and e-money now. E-money, company in the US, using US dollars, its currency, so we have this foreign currency issue to deal with as we go through the question. Diagnostic components for machinery, that's what it does. Exports worldwide, attending a trade show, they're considering setting up an assembly plant in the country, and so on and so forth. Currently being assembled in USA, once assembled, exported directly to the EU. These exports will be invoiced in €1. Further, assembly plant in Yelandwe. Financial and other data. It is initially assumed the project will last for 4 years. Last for 4 years. 4-year project will require investments. YR 21,000 million. Goodness me, why didn't they just say 21 trillion? So it's 21 trillion. 18,000 million for the machinery, 9,600 million, and so on and so forth immediately. All right, so land and buildings. Land and buildings, machinery, working capital. So to me, that sounds like 1, 2, 3 things, and I'll have to add those up myself because 16, 18, and 9 is not 21. So good. Working capital will need to be increased annually at the start of each of the next 3 years by Yelandwe's inflation rate. So by Yelandwe's inflation rate, and assume that this will be released at the end of the project. So as a cash inflow by the time T4 comes along. So it can be assumed that the assembly plant can be built very quickly. Production started almost immediately. And this is because of the basic facilities and so on already in place. Plant will be built on premises of a school, ideally located, railways, highways, etc. As a result, school will close. Children studying there will be related to other schools, located at other schools, government providing buses for free. However, it's only for 6 months. How sad. So that's that. And the current selling price of each component is 700. This is a value in euros. This price is likely to increase by the average euro rate of inflation now from year 1 onwards. From year one. And I'm wasting time thinking, now what the heck they mean from year 1? Do I have to inflate the year 1 value? It didn't say after year 1. It said from year 1. It didn't say in year 1. So I will choose to inflate year 1, right? Whether or not that's right, we'll just go forward, get things done. Because if anybody has counted the time, I've now wasted 6 minutes reading. Well, I shouldn't say waste, but use 6 minutes reading. 6 minutes out of those 98. I'm not dealing with all 98. I'm doing these sections in NPV tonight. Number of combatants expected to be sold every year, 150, 480, 750, and so on. All of these are in thousands. I have to remember that. Parts need to be assembled into the components in Yelandwe will be sent from the USA by the company. I have the cost in dollars, $200 per component unit. Currently earning pre-tax contribution again in dollars for each component unit. Very interesting. So this is stuff for the USA company. All right. However, the company feels it can negotiate with the government to increase the transfer price to 280. All right. We have a cost related to the assembling the components in the laundry. The laundry cost now 15,960 laundries per component unit. Current fixed costs is now in millions, so 4,600 million. So we're dealing with trillions there again. And or could just work in millions. I could work in millions and just write these thousands down. So although looking back at all of these numbers, I could choose to work in trillions instead and simplify my life, write less nonsense, and finish on time. Let's see what happens. Trillions, 4.6 trillion. All these costs, wherever incurred, are expected to increase by that country's annual inflation every year from year one. So again, I'm told of this from thing. All right, I guess I'll be inflating my first year. So money pays corp tax now on profits at a rate of 20% in the US of A. Tax in both USA and United States payable in the year the liability arises. Bilateral tax security exists between United and USA. Tax allowable depreciation is 25%, so I have to do that working on what we call it. We call it capital allowance. We don't call it tax allowable depreciation, but that's what we are told here. So I have to work out capital allowance per year on a machinery on a straight line basis. Important to remember that. Going further, company will expect annual royalties from the assembly plant to be in every year. Normal annual royalty fee, 20 million. Oh, royalty. Okay. And that's in dollars. But MNO can negotiate with the government to increase the royalty fee by 80%. Once agreed, this will not be subject to any inflationary increase in the 4-year. Company decides to invest in an assembly plant. Its exports from the US to EU will fall, and it will incur redundancy costs. Oh my gosh, what's that? As a result, the company's after-tax costs will reduce by these amounts. Very interesting. What the heck is this? Cash flow, exports to USA, will incur redundancy costs. So are these things in dollars? Are these things in millions? Are these things, what the hell is this? Excuse my language, but I'm pretending to be in the exam. Feel free to curse, but silently. Don't disturb other students. Okay. All right. Whatever. Put a big question mark there. I'm not going to spend 5 minutes there. In money, I've already spent 11 minutes reading. If anybody's checking the time, I am. They can use cost of capital of 9% to assess new projects. All right, that's good news. I don't have to do any workings. Or the finance director could suggest that the project specific. Oh my gosh, now I have a choice. 12 or 9. 12 or 9. Where are my coins? I left all my coins in a car. Can't flip a coin now. Anyway, moving on. You could say any, mini, minimal. Current spot rates. All of that. All right, fine. Thanks a lot for that. I remember the base is on the underneath. That's what the base is for. This base goes below. And I could deal with exchange rates. Moving on, I have forecast future rates. Now, one thing I didn't do, which is because I read the question before, is read the requirement first. So that's what we would normally do, read the requirement first. And inflation rates. We have inflation rates. We have, what are these things here? Again, these are forecasted future rates based on inflation. YR to dollar and YR to euros. Interesting. So I have three currencies. I didn't pick that up before. I have YR, dollars, and euros. So, all right, I have inflation rates, and I am to discuss possible benefits and drawbacks, certain of its own plant in Elandway compared to license in a company. So I'm not sure if this is that section of the syllabus with NPV. So I will leave this out for tonight. All right, so I'll double check that and get back to that. Of course, if you remember that in the exam, that's something to tackle first. Part B, which is what I'll try and concentrate on tonight, has 3 bits. And of course, the 4 marks, which remains to make it up to 50 marks, which I didn't copy across here, is for the professional marks. Professional presentation. Right, so that's that. Evaluate financial acceptability of the investment. Discuss your report, which discusses the assumptions made in producing the estimates, other risks. So assumptions for the estimates and other risks and issues that they should consider before making the final decision. So to me, this 17 is so mind-boggling. What am I going to be writing for 17 marks? I don't care, but writing is easier than calculating, and therefore I'm going to do that first. So, pause my watch. Could anybody tell me how much time I spent reading just now? Anybody? Anybody? Nobody looked at the time either. 24 seconds. All right. Now we probably spent 24, Natalie, but I remember at the pause, I'd pause the watch when I went on and off and things like that. We probably had 24 minutes in the whole session. But when I started the reading area, Anita is better there. It is closer to 15 minutes. I have 14 minutes, 26 seconds. So, yeah. So this is the stress you're going to have to deal with, right? And you have to come up with a way to deal with it. And one of the things is not punching all of the numbers for all of those 4 years. But we're going to try something. That's all you can do, ladies. You can keep trying at it. Understand that you're not going to finish it, but finish your report. That is what you must do. You must create a report. You must have some numbers for an evaluation and throw in all the other discussions. Look how much discussion marks we have in. So my watch is on pause for now. 17 plus 3 plus the 4 for the, somebody add for me, 17 plus the 3, that's 20, plus the 4 for the professional marks, for completing the question. Not saying doing every number, but having a thing looking like a report, plus that 5. So when I hit that 5, this is more than half the marks of 50 mark case, people, right? Going for the explanations part. And if I remember correctly, that part is also related to MPVs, but I don't deal with that tonight. So evaluating the financial acceptability. So only 21 marks for calculations as such. So let me begin with my easier marks. I'm going to start back my watch now and try and type up an answer to part B, right? So that it'll be easier for you all to see as I type. And I could basically type as fast as I write. So that shouldn't be a problem time-wise. Okay. I want to discuss what? Assumptions, producing estimates, thinking how to create my report. How to create my report is to report the numbers. Can I have, I'll stop the watch. Can I have a brief answer there? Well, I stopped the watch, so you don't have to be brief. Let me test you all here now. Is the report the numbers, or is the report the essay? Anita votes for the essay. Natalie is saying both. Natalie is trying to be politically correct, and it's because the three parts are there in the requirement. So I would say no to Natalie that it's not going to be both. The computations are your appendix, even though loads of the marks will go in there. That's where you're working out the stuff. The report is always an essay. All right. So get that part straight, so that all the computations, no matter how nicely laid out, is the appendix. So once we have that out of the way, let me start back my watch and keep going again. So resume. Hey, resume. Right. So I want to discuss assumptions made. I want to discuss risks. I want to discuss issues. And I know that my report should be in that format. So let me start dropping in my report here. So I will go part B, part 2, no, not part B, part 2, part B, report. Do I have, who am I sending this to? Prepare report, or I guess to the directors. To the directors of Y from consultant. Put a little colon here. Date, today is 3rd November 2016. Extra 6 in there. Can deal with that quickly. And subject. Liability of the Y project, including assumptions and issues. Right, and immediately I spot a typo. The report is not to the directors of Y, it's the directors of I, so Imoni or whoever that company is. Can I just go up and find out how to spell that? I-M-O-N-I. I think I got it right. I-M-O-N-I. Good. So watch out for that. Basic stuff. Even if you put I and not the whole name, that's better than putting Y. So Y is Zealand the project area. So I want to get into assumptions. So I could head that up as financial assumptions. So I'm going to do, well, no, that's bad. I should have a general introduction. Also what this report is saying. So the report, therefore, should now have basic report structure. So I'm trying to capture my 4 marks. So let me go. This report considers whether or not it would be beneficial for Imoni. Cool. And I could abbreviate that to IC to set up a assembly plant in the country. I could write this only once. Y-I-L-A-N-D-W-E called Y for short. It will assess the assumptions made for the financial computations. See appendix. Other issues that the company should be aware of. And finally, using the outcomes of the financial appraisal, give a recommendation. Or is the other requirement set a reasoned recommendation? On the acceptability of the project. Right, so other things that could have been said, we could have expanded other issues there into saying that it would have been financial or non-financial, that type of thing. So moving on. Oh yes, by the way, let me just pause here again. What I wanted to identify was the time that I should now be spending. My time 17 by 1.5, 3 by 1.5, so 17 and 3. And maybe if I add on the 4 to that, 17 and 3 and 4, that's 24 by 1.5. 36. So I had reading time. 15 minutes. If I add on, all right, so I have 10 more minutes in this first session, then we would go with the second login. Reading time 15 minutes, and I just said 36 part 2. 17 plus 3 plus, this is 2 and 3. 17 plus 3 plus 4 should get me 36 minutes. So adding that up, 36 plus my 15, 51 minutes. Wow. So 51 minutes to finish this and then start some computations. And out of that, so far, I have clocked 20 minutes. All right, so 20 minus 51, 51 minus 20. So I have half an hour to come up with an excellent report here and move on. So let's keep going. Resume my watch. So I have my introduction. So after looking back at my requirement, one of the tricks that we learned is every 2-3 lines that you write, always look back at your requirement to make sure you're dealing with what you're supposed to deal with. All of the assumptions, estimates, assumptions made in producing the estimates, other risks. So I'll have to deal with risks and issues. So that could deal with financial and non-financial. So looking back to say, what are these assumptions? Assumptions for what? Assumptions made and produced in the estimates. Oh my gosh, what estimates? So I now have to go back to my case. Where did I see estimates? What the heck did they estimate? So 25 years economic growth. It's expected. That's an estimate. So disproportionately, so they estimated these inflation rates. Fine. So all of these estimate things, decided to continue. We have all those international companies being promised stuff. The currency is high tech. That's what the company does. Initially, it's assumed. So we even assuming or estimating the time for the project. So that's something there. We have all of these things, these are estimates. 4 year will require investments for land and building, machinery, working capital. My gosh, working capital. It's assumed. All these assumptions, estimates can be built very quickly, starting almost immediately. So all those are financial stuff so far. So do I write out each of these things one at a time? These are the assumptions, interest rates, and discuss each one. Oh, goodness. What will I do for 17 marks? I know I have 3 sections for the project. What else for the project? Location, and then I have to deal with what the question said. I have to deal with assumptions and producing the estimates. And then I have other risks, other issues. Okay. Other risks and other issues. So my estimates. Okay, back to my estimates. Children in school, parts, all of these costs. Goodness me. Cost could be 200. Pre-tax and contribution of that. And then negotiating now to increase the transfer price. So it's, is it 200 or is it 280? Okay. And then the current annual fixed costs. And that all of these costs were incurred, expected to increase by inflation. So we have those estimates for inflation, corp tax, royalties, negotiate government and increase fee. All right. So let's see. Of all of which I read just now, I could break these up into 3 sections from the requirement. And the first section would be what I almost started with earlier. Financial estimates. There are a number of financial estimates required for the NPV computation, including inflation, taxation, sales quantities. What else did I say up there? Sales quantities. This is where you're frantically turning the page from one to the other and watching the time, saying 25 minutes has gone out of my 50 minutes. And I haven't started my question. And panic sets in. And you close your eye, take a deep breath, and just continue, one stage at a time. Yeah, inflation, I said that. Time, costs. Oh, we had all sorts of different costs. Costs for the machinery, buildings. We had working capital, so I could stick some of that in here. Sales quantities. Investment. Costs, working capital. Costs, time. To start, and duration of the project. The NPV computations assume all of these estimates are accurate. How sensitive the viability of the project is to any one of these items changing can be done as a sensitivity analysis. This will provide M1E, IC, M1E Co with further information with which to make their final decision. What else can I say? Normally, if I reflect up here into some of these costs again, normally when we are given the purchase of these things and we are told something about the working capital after the 4 years, pre-tax, assembly components, rail lines. Here we go. The inflation, it's working capital need to be increased and will be released at the end of the project's life. I'm assuming that's T4. They didn't say released at the end of 4 years. It was assumed the project will last for 4 years. What am I doing with these buildings? This 21